New York Giants versus Buffalo Bills, the NFL is back, and the preseason calendar begins this weekend with a New York-based game on Saturday, August. The Giants are coming off of a 3-14 record, but rookies Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart highlight this contest. The Bills were AFC Championship bound last year, behind MVP Josh Allen. The star quarterback won't feature, but some key players will take the field for Buffalo's lone home preseason game. The New York Giants are hoping for a better 2025 after a tough season a year ago. New York finished with a 3-14 record last year, which put them last in the NFC East. Over the offseason, the Giants addressed the quarterback need by signing Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Wilson is not expected to play on Saturday, along with a majority of the Giants' starters. Winston could make an appearance, but the game is highlighted by rookie quarterback Jackson Dart. The number 25 pick is going to make his pro debut sometime on Saturday. "I'm not scared," Dart said Thursday. "When I go out there, I'm going to play the game I know how to play. I think if you're going to play scared as a quarterback, you shouldn't be out there." Another key rookie to feature will be linebacker Abdul Carter, who was pick number 3. The Giants will be without standout receiver Malik Neighbors, who missed the end of Wednesday's practice. He's a key name to watch once the regular season begins after a Pro Bowl caliber rookie year. The Buffalo Bills are back in action. The team that is starring in HBO's Hard Knocks this year is hoping for another deep playoff run after last year's AFC Championship appearance. The Bills bring a strong roster, but few starters are expected to play in Saturday's preseason opener. The reigning MVP in Josh Allen will not be playing in the first preseason game of the season. The Bills are deciding to sit their star player to keep him healthy, opting for a cautious approach as they focus on long-term success and minimizing injury risk before the regular season begins. "I'm in constant communication with Josh, and part of it too is how he feels, but I also have to make sure I protect him the best that I can," Coach Sean McDermott said Thursday before the final practice. "He always wants to be out there, believe me, he does. I know this is not easy for him in that regard, but it's the right thing to do." The Bills will turn to Mitch Trubisky to start the game against the Giants. Trubisky featured in 9 games last season as he threw for 179 yards on 19 for 26 passing. He played just a few snaps last year when games were out of reach. As the roster continues to churn in the latter half of the game, quarterbacks Mike White and Shane Buechele will also play for the Bills. The trio is expected to get extended looks as the coaching staff evaluates depth chart positioning and seeks consistency in executing the offensive scheme. McDermott shared that starters will play no more than 1 quarter, giving way to a deeper look at the team's young and developing talent. It's time to expect some young players for Buffalo in this game, as roster spots and depth chart positions are on the line. The Bills' lone first-round draft pick, corner Maxwell Hairston, will most likely miss the game after suffering a knee injury during camp last week. His absence is a setback for a secondary that hoped to evaluate his readiness early. This creates an opportunity for other young defensive backs to step up and make a strong impression in live action. In preseason games, teams love to milk the clock and get things aligned correctly rather than quickly. I expect with many second and third teams playing, a fast pace won't be emphasized in this game. A low-scoring offense from both teams is expected, along with many star players not going to play. Coaches typically focus more on evaluating talent and executing basic schemes rather than running aggressive or fast-paced systems. Expect more running plays, fewer deep throws, and long drives that eat clock. The Giants and Bills will not be playing many starters in this game, as both teams prioritize staying healthy and evaluating depth over chasing a meaningless preseason win. It's a typical early August contest where roster evaluation trumps in-game strategy, and coaches will be more interested in seeing who executes the fundamentals rather than lighting up the scoreboard. From the projected rotations and expected usage patterns, it's evident that both head coaches have zero interest in risking high-value players. That said, Even in preseason matchups featuring backups, there's a clear edge to be found when comparing the depth charts. And in this case, the Giants appear to have an advantage in both experience and upside. From the look of the backup players, the Giants have far more experience in key positions, which could make a real difference. Their quarterback room, in particular, stands out. Jameis Winston brings veteran savvy to the position, having been both a starter and high-level backup throughout his career. His experience in multiple offensive systems allows him to operate even a stripped-down playbook effectively. Winston's arm talent and willingness to push the ball downfield, even in low-risk reps, offers a layer of explosiveness that few preseason rosters possess. Backing him up is Tommy DeVito, who not only has some regular season experience under his belt, but also understands this particular offense well. DeVito earned some fanfare last season for his gritty performances when pressed into duty. That game experience gives him an edge against vanilla defensive schemes often seen in preseason. Meanwhile, a hungry Jackson Dart will be looking to make plays and earn trust. Dart, the rookie out of Ole Miss, has a gunslinger's mentality, strong mechanics, and impressive mobility. Though he's likely to play late in the game, the Giants' coaching staff will be watching closely. Dart is not just auditioning for a backup role. He's competing for long-term consideration, perhaps even a developmental role on the practice squad or future backup designation. Expect him to take chances and try to extend plays, using his athleticism to his advantage. Preseason matchups often give mobile quarterbacks a unique advantage against soft coverage and simplified pass rushes, which could result in some chain-moving drives late in the contest. On the defensive side, one name to keep an eye on is Abdul Carter. The linebacker out of Penn State is making his preseason debut and brings a level of tenacity that jumps off the tape. Known for his explosive first step and relentless motor, Carter has the potential to be an early contributor on special teams and rotational defensive packages. He's a violent tackler who doesn't shy away from contact, and his presence in the middle of the field could set the tone for the Giants' defense early. In a preseason setting where defenses often play more vanilla schemes, raw athleticism and aggressiveness tend to shine, and Carter checks both boxes. If the Bills try to test the edges or stretch plays laterally, Carter's closing speed could be a major problem for them. The Bills are going to sit key players from last year's playoff run, including franchise cornerstone Josh Allen. With Allen out, the quarterback duties fall to Mike White and Mitch Trubisky. While both have logged starts in the NFL, neither brings the dynamic upside or consistency needed to carry an otherwise stripped-down offense. Trubisky is a known quantity. He has decent mobility and can make throws on the move, but his inconsistency and tendency to make poor reads under pressure have plagued him throughout his career. Mike White, while competent in spot starts, doesn't possess the dual threat capability to keep defenses honest. Without the threat of Allen's legs or his deep ball, the Bills' offense is likely to be far more conservative, relying on quick passes and inside runs, plays that are easier to diagnose and defend. More critically, the Bills are resting several skill players who played pivotal roles in their 2024 postseason campaign. This includes starters at running back and wide receiver, further dulling the offensive bite. Their depth at those positions will be tested, and while they may have promising rookies in camp, the absence of game-changing speed or size at the second and third levels limits their ability to stretch the field. Running plays designed to go between the tackles won't get much push against a motivated Giants defensive front, featuring athletic backers and late-round players trying to prove they belong. This will be a close game between two teams, playing many players who will see little action in the regular season, but the subtle differences in depth, experience, and roster composition could be decisive. Preseason games tend to come down to which team has the better third and fourth string units, and in this case, the Giants' balance of veteran leadership at quarterback and athletic youth on defense gives them a meaningful edge. Their second and third string offense should be more effective at sustaining drives, particularly in the second half when defensive execution drops. Meanwhile, their defensive backups are faster and more physical than what Buffalo is expected to roll out. I will side with the team that not only boasts more talented rookies, but also has proven leadership to help guide those young players through the chaos of a preseason game. Between Winston's steadiness, Dart's raw upside, and Carter's defensive presence, the Giants offer more pop and stability across the board. Even if the scoreboard stays low, as preseason games often do, the Giants are better suited to take advantage of mistakes, extend drives with mid-tier talent, and finish off possessions when it matters. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is New York Giants plus 1.5. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box. Houston Texans versus Minnesota Vikings. The 2025 NFL preseason is here, and Saturday brings an 8-game card, including the cross-conference battle at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is the first preseason encounter between Houston and Minnesota since 2013. They met last regular season, and the Vikings trounced the Texans 34-7 as 1.5-point home underdogs. Interestingly, the Vikings are 6-0 straight up and against the spread in their 6 regular season dates with the Texans. The Houston Texans went 10-7 last year and made it to the postseason, where they exited in the divisional round. After a 32-12 thrashing of the Los Angeles Chargers in the wild card round, the Texans lost at the Kansas City Chiefs 23-14. C.J. Stroud followed his exceptional rookie season with a decent performance in 2024. Last year, he threw for 3,727 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions in 17 regular season starts. Stroud will probably play the first drive this Saturday before some of his backups take over. Behind Stroud, the Texans have 3 signal callers on their preseason roster. Davis Mills enters his 5th NFL season, while Graham Mertz and Keaton Slovis are both rookies. Mills logged 4 relief appearances in 2024, throwing for 212 yards and no touchdowns or interceptions. Joe Mixon led the Texans' ground game in 2024, but he won't play against the Vikings due to an ankle injury. The Texans signed Nick Chubb in the offseason, but he missed consecutive practices after suffering a head injury earlier this week. Behind Chubb, the Texans have a couple of decent running backs in Dameon Pierce and Dare Ogunbowale. On the other side of the ball, the Texans have a few questionable players, including safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who arrived from Philadelphia in the offseason. Last year, Houston ranked 14th in the NFL in points allowed, 21.9 per game, 11th in rushing yards allowed, 114.0, and 6th in passing yards allowed, 201.0. The Minnesota Vikings went 14-3 this past regular season, still finishing second in the NFC North behind the Detroit Lions. In the wild card round, the Vikings hosted the Los Angeles Rams and suffered a disappointing 27-9 defeat. The Vikings decided to part ways with Sam Darnold, who tossed for 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions in 2024. Darnold signed with the Seattle Seahawks in the offseason, and the Vikings will turn to their first-round pick from the 2024 NFL Draft, the 22-year-old J.J. McCarthy, who suffered a season-ending knee injury a year ago. Behind McCarthy, the Vikings have Sam Howell, Brett Rypien, and rookie Max Brosmer. From this point of view, it seems like Howell will serve as McCarthy's backup. Howell was a starter for the Washington Commanders in 2023. Aaron Jones Sr. remains the starting RB, and the Vikings would certainly like to improve their running game. They were 19th in the NFL in rushing yards last season, 109.1 per game. Hereof, the Vikings bolstered their offensive line in the offseason, signing right guard Will Freeze and center Ryan Kelly. Moreover, they drafted left guard Donovan Jackson in the first round. On the other side of the ball, Minnesota signed defensive tackles Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. The Vikings defense did a great job in 2024, allowing 19.5 points per game, 5th in the NFL, on 93.4 rushing yards, 2nd, and 242.0 passing yards, 28th. Interestingly, these two teams were tied for the 4th most sacks in the NFL last season, 49 each, a testament to the strength of their defensive fronts and their ability to pressure the quarterback without always relying on exotic blitzes. While much has been made about the Texans' offensive struggles, especially in protecting the quarterback, their defense has flown a bit under the radar. Houston's secondary was particularly impressive in 2024, frequently bailing out the offense by limiting big plays and forcing opponents into long third-down situations. Their coverage schemes under DeMeco Ryans improved throughout the season, anchored by the growth of young playmakers in the back end, including standout performances from Derek Stingley Jr. and Jalen Peter. Hereof, I expect a low-scoring affair that reflects the strength of these two units. Both teams have great depth on the defensive side of the ball, and their offensive units, particularly with second and third stringers getting most of the action, will struggle to move the chains consistently. It's a classic preseason setup where defenses often have the upper hand due to simplified offensive schemes and conservative play calling. Quarterbacks are instructed to protect the football, coordinators avoid putting too much on tape, and execution tends to dip as you rotate in younger, unproven linemen and receivers still learning the playbook. Don't be surprised if we see multiple 3-and-outs, short drives, and red zone stalls, as each team looks to evaluate talent over pushing for points. Hopefully, the offensive unit won't add to the scoreboard. No pick sixes, no strip sacks for touchdowns. Because if the defenses stay disciplined, this total has a great chance of staying under. Historically, the betting trends also lean in favor of a lower scoring result. The under is 7-1 in the Texans' last 8 preseason games, a stretch that reflects their persistent offensive limitations and strong early game defensive effort. In the preseason, unders often cash when teams combine a lack of offensive depth with above-average defensive coaching, and that perfectly describes Houston's current build. Meanwhile, the Vikings have seen the under go 4-3-1 in their last 8 preseason outings, which isn't as strong of a trend, but still leans slightly toward fewer points. With both coaching staffs likely to play it safe and avoid any unnecessary exposure to injury, this looks like another tight, low-scoring battle. Texans have a new offensive coordinator in Nick Caley, which adds another layer of complexity to this game. Caley spent the last 2 years with the Los Angeles Rams as a pass game coordinator and tight ends coach, and before that, he worked under Bill Belichick in New England. This is his first shot at running an offense, and while his pedigree suggests he'll bring a layered, structured scheme, it will take time for the system to mesh with new personnel. Davis Mills is a proven backup quarterback who has started 26 games in the NFL, and while he can stabilize things early, I don't expect him to play more than a couple of series. Caley will likely want to get a long look at Graham Mertz and Keaton Slovis, 2 young quarterbacks who need live reps to show what they're capable of at the NFL level. Mertz brings an SEC pedigree and a reputation for being a solid game manager, while Slovis has flashed accuracy but struggled with inconsistency and decision-making throughout college. Their development is important, but asking either to light up the scoreboard in a debut preseason game is a tall order. Last season, the Texans' biggest issue was pass protection. C.J. Stroud was sacked a whopping 52 times, often under heavy duress despite quick decision-making. The pressure didn't just disrupt rhythm, it killed drives and stunted offensive momentum. In the offseason, the Texans made several drastic changes to address this issue. They traded away Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil, a surprising move that signals a rebuild along the offensive front. They also cut veteran guard Shaq Mason and fired offensive line coach Chris Strausser, signaling a total overhaul in both personnel and coaching philosophy. While these changes could pay off long-term, the short-term reality is clear. The Texans will need time to gel. Communication along the line takes weeks, if not months, to develop. And with so many new faces and a brand new scheme, the preseason is unlikely to showcase a polished product. Hereof, I'm going with the Vikings in this game. While Houston figures out its offensive identity, Minnesota enters this preseason with more stability and defensive confidence. J.J. McCarthy, the team's highly touted rookie quarterback, desperately needs snaps under his belt. The former Michigan star brings mobility, a quick release, and poise under pressure, but he's raw and needs game speed exposure to iron out his timing and reads. The Vikings coaching staff will likely give him a significant share of snaps in this opener, hoping to see growth in command and consistency. He'll be playing against a capable Texans defense, but the structure around him, especially on the offensive line, is more cohesive than what Houston currently has. Expect some up and down moments, but also a few flashes that justify his first-round selection. On the other side of the ball, the Vikings' backups on defense will be fired up to prove their worth. And based on last season, there's reason to believe they can be just as stingy in 2025. Minnesota's defense was excellent in 2024, playing with physicality, smart coverage rotation, and a relentless front seven. Many of their depth players received real game reps due to injuries last year, and that experience shows up in the preseason, where decision-making and recognition often separate the winners from the losers. Look for Minnesota to bring pressure, force quick throws, and limit big plays downfield, all while rotating in players eager to impress in a stacked defensive room. In short, this game profiles as a defensive battle between two well-coached teams, leaning heavily on backups and developmental players. While the Texans have upside on defense, their offensive line instability and quarterback uncertainty give the Vikings the edge. Minnesota's deeper defense, better O-line, and urgency to play McCarthy give them the edge. The under is safest, but Minnesota is the smarter side pick. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is Vikings -3.0. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box.